You are listening to a Reverie original podcast. Please download the Reverie app to get the best in queer film, TV series, music, and podcasts. Stream out loud. Hi everybody, welcome back to... Why are you shaking your head, Rakeem? Welcome to Podcast of Color, where four trash bags of color come together to make some sense.
You had one job, John. One job.
I know. I'm John, and happy Filipino Heritage Month. I did not realize that. And speaking of, after the boys introduce themselves, I want to let the listeners know that the discourse will be a Asian episode. So we wanted to talk about.
I'm laughing because you said you wanted to tell them that after we introduced ourselves, and then you just told them.
Okay.
so, hi, fuck our drag.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I didn't want to ruin your moment.
Okay, so after they introduce, I just want to give everyone a heads up that this discourse will be not with the boys. They gave us an opportunity to have an episode where we talked about our experiences as LGBTQ and Asian Pacific Islander folks. So later on, you'll hear from me, Amanda, Jimmy, and Jeff. And we'll all identify ourselves later in the episode, but stay tuned. And who are y'all?
I'm Baze, the spooky hunty.
I'm Rakeem, the spookiest bitch on the planet.
Okay.
Would you say that you're a spook?
This is a trick question. This sounds like something that white man. Do you think a white man would call me? So the answer is no.
I'm glad that you know that that's actually a racial slur. A lot of people don't know that. Sorry, just testing you.
The more you know.
Just testing your blackness.
Wow. Do you see this? Do you see the anti-blackness being perpetuated by Baze here? This is what happens because I'm not African that I have to be tested.
No, that had nothing to do with it. I just was seeing if you knew your shit. That's all.
Renee?
So I'm Renee, and I'm back after like a month.
Yay!
Oh,
Renee!
Everyone's squirting confetti at me because they're so happy that I'm here.
I'm so glad you said confetti.
It felt so good too.
Yay!
I mean, if you're shooting confetti, you might want to go to the doctor.
Or maybe you're just happy. Have you ever considered that, Rakeem? Maybe people are just happy.
No, because that's a medical miracle. And I think that you should.
I thought you were going to say that's a middle class miracle.
Middle class? No, bitch. A middle class miracle is the fact that I paid all my bills on time this month.
Okay.
That's a middle class.
You're not working class no more.
So, welcome back, everybody. Sorry we missed last week, but this week you get 7 people of color on this episode, and
good job.
I did my math. You see me do it?
Good job.
Yes, good math.
It is 7.
Change your name to calculator, bitch.
Look, I'm Asian. I can do math. I'm kidding. So the question of color this week is. I don't know if our listeners remember Care Bears, but I certainly do. Some of us don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was before my time.
And what about it?
So Care Bears, they had a little stare on their tummy, and then they had a little emblem, and then whenever they were like fighting evil or whatever, just like when they needed to do something.
Wait, Care Bears fought evil?
They fought evil, bitch? I thought they were like Teletubbies.
Wait a minute. Wait, that's sickening. I might have to check this shit out.
I thought they were like Teletubbies, like 80s Teletubbies.
Renee,
Me too.
You got me on Care Bears, right, Renee?
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, what did they fight?
So there was like this evil like witch that they were fighting, and basically people who were taking away the happiness of like the town. But anyway, if we were a Care Bear,
Republicans.
Okay, yeah, right. If we were a Care Bear, what color would we be, and what would our emblem be?
Well, I would be black because I'm black.
Wait a minute.
So that's first thing. Actually, I should not have gone first because I still don't understand.
Just about to say, didn't we just say?
Okay, I'll go last, but you guys know my part of my answer. The other part is a mystery.
What's my Care Bear symbol?
Wait.
Or emblem?
Okay, go.
Symbol, emblem. That's one secret I'll never tell. XOXO, Care Bear girl.
You're so
Not Care Bear.
Oh my god, you're Gossip Bear. Gossip Bear.
I
Kill
can
it
totally
with
see
fire.
Rakeem being Gossip Bear.
I absolutely am not gossip. I would. Never mind.
Okay,
I wouldn't
so
mind a
if
bear
you,
that
what
gossip.
would your color and emblem be?
I would be. I would be. I would. Sorry. This is Trayvon here. I would be. I would be dark black.
Trade Bear.
Oh.
Yes, I would be a black bear, and I would. And my
You just had to out-black me, huh?
my emblem would be a Tim, and
Like a Timberland shoe?
like a Timberland.
Bitch, you not even
Shut
from New
up.
York. See,
And they'd be like, and then they come in and they'd be like, and they'd be like, you looking? I'd be like, dead ass.
And then the shoe comes out of your stomach.
And then
like,
the shoe comes out, and I don't know, some sexual act happens with the Timberland, and then
you curb stomp them.
and
I'm kidding.
maybe like a foot job, and then with the Timberland, and then we go, woohoo! Whatever Care Bears do. What do they do?
Yeah, they
Wait,
do
that's
that.
Mickey Mouse. What do Care Bears do? What noises do Care Bears make?
I need to go to sleep. Oh my god, it's time for me to go to sleep.
Okay, Renee, what would your...
Wait, John, help me. I'm really having a hard time figuring out an emblem and my power.
I think yours would be a Fiona Apple album.
Oh my god, I'm gonna...
Or maybe like a harp for Joanna Newsom vibes. Like just like fairy music comes out.
I feel like Renee's symbol would be like a dollar bill, but like it would have like an X over the center of it
I'm
or something
over it.
like that. Like, or it would have like
Anti-capitalist
a
Care Bear.
line through it. Yes, it'd have like a line through it or something like that.
But he'd be red though because he's a socialist.
I just go
Yeah.
and destroy capitalism
red.
everywhere.
He'd be red and yellow, or oh my god, it would be a McDonald's hat, but like upside down because of the stress.
Yes.
Wow,
Instead of like
the
McDonald's,
artist
it's
jumped
like
out.
Whack Donald's. That's your Care Bear name, Whack Donald.
Whack Donald's?
I'm Trayvon, and you're Whack Donald.
Okay, I accept it.
John.
I think everyone expects me to say a flea bottle, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say a bottle of Rush Poppers is on my tummy, and I fight evil by giving... I fight evil by making them lightheaded and like dizzy, and they fall.
And
So you
make
like
them
poppers
unclench.
as, like,
Yeah. Or if I'm like driving a car, I'll like spill some poppers behind me, and then everyone's like, "Whoa!"
You're like Poison Ivy, you know, she can like emit like the pheromones. and
Yes,
shit, like
mine would be poppers.
Bitch, that would be so
Yeah.
useful in the club.
Like, I mean, sure, or fighting evil. You
Or
know,
fighting
when,
evil.
when the criminal's in front of me, I just like make them really nauseated. And okay, so Baze, you get the idea. Who are you?
I don't know.
Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me?
I feel like Baze
When will
would
my
be like...
reflection show?
You know why? Because Rakeem had to single white female me by stealing my Black New York identity, or I should say single nigger faggot me. And so I really don't have a Care Bear thing because Rakeem stole it. Thank you.
We are earning the explicit label this week. Oh,
Come on, Baze.
I think you could be more creative than that, Mr. Ryder.
Oh wow, on the spot, called you out,
Okay, well I don't think so. So
and that's that on that.
I feel like Baze would be a book. And then his power would be reading the enemies, and then they would like crumble in like fear because the...
Oh my god, like to filth. He like
That's
read them
cute,
to
but are we
filth.
going to be honest about what would really be on Baze's chest?
What would really be on Baze's chest?
What would really be on
A
Baze's
fist. Okay, like it would really be a fist.
A fist?
It would be a fist. It would be a clenched fist. And what would happen? Baze.
Wait, is it going like this or like that? Like
no,
am I
like a
fisting my
punch.
enemies?
No, oh, Father God, no.
yeah, what if they're gonna enjoy that?
Consensually.
I mean,
oh, right, yeah, okay.
Are you guys like the Popper Rangers now? John is just running around spreading popper moans everywhere, and then you're just fisting people after? Is that what's happening?
It's a 2-hit combo.
Shit, can I change my label to a Bible? Is that okay?
This is, oh my god, this is like our old intro. Popper's a Bible. Oh, remember that, listeners? Okay.
I was just gonna say Base's power would have been like it's a fist and it's like in the fist like in motion, and his power would be kind of like the Black Panther suit. Like if someone hits him, he like gets the power and he like pushes it back. So next time Base goes to the club and someone bumps into him, he can just like push the power back at them.
I think Base's emblem would be like a really cool pair of sunglasses. So he would like...
Ew! Not those like, tiny thin ones though.
That Beyonce wears?
So like...
Still ugly.
He would like do a Care Bear stare, and like when it happens, he would just have a really cool look and just like stun the enemies with his look.
Pew pew
Pew!
pew.
Well, that's what you get, Base, because you didn't come up with yours. So okay. What is happening in the world?
Did you come up with some topics?
Me?
No? Oh, okay.
So
hi guys, I'm back.
Wow. I'm so glad we only get 30 more minutes of Baze right now.
Look, see what happens when you're socially conditioned to have to fight for yourself at every single moment?
Oh my god. Renee, you see what I've been having to deal with since you've been gone, Renee? I get these two.
Wait, okay. So what? Can we talk about the water sign breakup of the century?
Oh, all right. We can start off with
Ariana and Pete. What's his name?
Ariana and Pete Davidson. Yeah.
Wait, they're both water signs.
Renee.
They're Scorpio and Cancer.
Oh,
yikes!
Sounds like a flood.
So it makes sense that it really is a flood, but it makes sense because they're both water signs and they kind of like rushed into it and then got engaged like within like a week or two of knowing each other.
And they have like several tattoos of each other on each other.
Yeah,
the ghetto.
Well, I think he had her ear, the rabbit ear thing.
Dangerous woman.
And then he changed it to a heart. So.
Oh, since the breakup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that's since the breakup, but he definitely changed it. So I don't know if that... I'm assuming that must be it, because why else would he do that?
This is proof that Ariana's black.
I mean, he had said...
proof.
How so? Elaborate, please.
This is definitive proof that the name changing of the tattoos and, like, covering them up and, like, just being like, I don't fuck with this nigga no more. I heard her say that on the tour bus, like... You know, like she's really black, y'all. I'm really here for it.
I'm just like, and not only like you could cover up the tattoos, but there's a song on the album called Pete Davidson.
Right.
So
I heard that it was.
Somebody said on Twitter they were like Pete Davidson on the album, and it was like I.
Oh my god!
I'm still here.
I'm over it.
Oh
but he was saying some like kind of fucked up shit. I feel like, right? Like
he was.
I
think I was like over there. I was like kind of rooting for them because I was like I wanted her to be happy, and he seemed like he was cool. But when he it was like he finally spoke up. Like I think like a few weeks or a month after that pastor groped her, and he was like saying how he really liked that Bill Clinton was staring at her during the funeral, and how he didn't feel like the pastor meant anything by it, and he couldn't help himself. And I was just like, oh, okay. And like,
the way that he comforted her was like, oh, it's just because you're hot. You know, like this is just happening because you're hot, and not like okay, this is actually fucked up.
And just like knowing her, like her politics and the way that she talks about like misogyny and stuff,
right?
That I was just like, that can't be sitting with her too well. And the fact that he spoke about it publicly, like, ugh.
The moment he said that, I was like, she was with him for dick. Because when he said, because you're hot, first of all, that's gross. But second of all, I know, I have a feeling of like the kind of person that he is. And she was probably just like, oh my God, he's a fucking idiot. But my God, his dick is big.
Well, you know, and
oh my God.
What he also said that when he was like fucking, one of the things that I don't know if he said this like while they were together. I just know at some point he said this, that when he's fucking, one of the things he thinks about to keep himself from coming is his father dying during 9/11, which his dad did die. His dad, I believe, was a firefighter, and he died during 9/11. And he said that that's what he thinks about to stop himself from coming. And I was like, oh,
Why? Why would even if that were true? Why would you ever? Okay, I mean, I guess that's his place. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well, anyways, Ariana Grande is single now, and
Ariana
Latina
Grande.
stay winning. Latina stay winning.
Rihanna Grande.
No, she's Afro Latina. Stay winning.
Oh,
Wait,
Afro.
Renee,
Sorry,
did you call her Rihanna Grande?
No, I said Ariana.
Oh, okay. I just sorry. I was
that
sitting
is
here
so
on that one
smart.
for a minute.
Ariana Grande. Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Ariana. Rihanna is also a water sign. But anyways, sorry. What was the next topic?
Is she a Scorpio?
She's a Pisces.
Worse. Okay.
Wow.
Solange is coming out with a new album.
Yes, I'm so excited. Oh my god, I threw my
Those
phone
photos,
and I
like-
hit myself. I was so excited.
She didn't even
yourself with
she
your
didn't even
phone?
let us get a chance to like breathe off of Beyonce. Like Beyonce just got off a tour.
No, she tag teamed her. She texted her.
I was gonna say, they
she
did
said,
this.
girl, your turn.
They were in cahoots. They're in cahoots.
She said, let's go get him.
I'm so excited because she said that this one is gonna be maybe like a little more like
Shake your ass.
dance. Yeah, like
Ooh,
dance heavy.
That's what I want.
I'm
Pop my
excited.
butt. Pop my butt.
It's like the last album sonically wasn't really made for like dancing.
Oh,
That was fine with
definitely.
me because I thought it was beautiful. I thought like the album was amazing. Cranes in the Sky, still the song in the video is like one of my favorites. But like I'm ready for like Lose You, Solange to come back for sure.
Yeah, I was like that her EP was like, bitch, had me just like shimmying and then the shimmying and then the dancing and then breaking it down. Like it was just it was a lot and I loved it. And I still, like you said, I appreciated dancing at the table. I mean dancing at the table, Lord Jesus.
That's gonna be the new
I'm
album.
thinking dancing at the
That's
parking
gonna be
lot.
the new one.
A dance at the table.
Lovers in the
At
parking
the
lot.
table.
Wait,
That's
that's the name of the album.
Dance at the table.
Dance at the table.
I want to dance at the table.
I'm so mad.
Bitch. But yeah, so I appreciated it, and it's funny because I didn't like it when I first heard it, and then I was
It takes a minute.
Yeah, and then one day we were like cleaning the house and it was on, and I was just like, oh shit, like this is like really like when I was like just experiencing it, it was really good. I think when I was like listening to it like purposely to like hear it, it was
Yeah.
harder to like really appreciate it.
I feel like maybe you came at it like the way that like I came at it, where like I was kind of expecting the like older version of
The
Solange,
EP.
like the EP
Yeah.
Solange, and
Yeah.
so I was just kind of like, oh, this is a little different.
yeah.
So, but yeah, another Cancer of color. Appreciate that she's gonna come back.
A cock.
No,
Oh,
stop
No,
it.
We're not calling
No.
Solange a cock.
No.
Could you
Oh,
imagine?
I'm not saying Solange. I'm saying cancers of color.
First of
John-
all, Solange
John
will
loves the
beat
cock.
your ass. Solange herself would drive down here and slap you in the fucking face. I'm not trying to get
remember
that.
I still
remember
have-
a fleet at the table?
no.
Flea.
Oh my god!
Didn't
I
we
still have
name
that
an
photo.
episode that?
I still have that photo of what's Beyonce? What's Miss Tina's boyfriend's name?
Her husband?
Yeah, I still have that
Richard
photo of her husband with like Mark's elbow in it.
Richard Lawson, I think is his name.
Yes.
Did you say
wait,
Idris Elba?
Who
no,
said
Mark-
Idris Elba?
Nobody said that,
Mark's
Rakeem.
elbow.
Oh, I was about to be like, bitch.
That's what I heard.
Look at
Okay.
Rakeem is really like the type that would just get like John jumped. Like, bitch, did you say
Yes.
that? In the, like,
Yes, he would. Oh my
like
god.
like a
And
public space.
he wouldn't even know. He would just let everyone jump
But
me.
didn't you do that in Subway though, bitch? So what's T?
Wait, what?
Remember that?
One time,
I do.
One time we went to Subway and I was like, Rakeem just told me to go pick rice.
Like in front of
Like-
every fuck. I'm like, can I have a meatball sub? Like no rice
Oh,
on
that's
it.
very me energy, John. I love that.
Oh god.
But sorry, what were you saying, Renee?
Oh yeah, that y'all are beautiful. So what's the next episode?
No,
I
girl,
mean,
you
friend.
were saying-
I mean,
girl, you
Sorry.
Sorry, very
What's-
profound. You were
Renee, what's
using
it
your
called?
words. You were giving us that Berkeley.
I wasn't. I don't even remember now.
Oh, I'm
but
sorry,
it was
sis.
there. Rewind if you want to hear it again.
That's my rewind sound effect.
That was that? I thought you were being like a gerbil or something.
Oh no, I was rewinding.
Okay,
you sounded like those gremlins. Yeah, what else is going on, mate?
What else is going on in the world? Hillary Clinton put her foot in her mouth again. You know, I mean, you know what? I didn't think that there was anything like worse that she could say. Well, never mind. Super Predators is definitely worse than that. But one of the cringiest things that she's ever said is "You've heard of Pokemon Go. I want you to Pokemon Go to the polls." Oh my god,
that was so embarrassing. that was so embarrassing.
Cedar Rapids.
I was by myself when I saw that, but I still looked into the camera. It was so embarrassing.
Or the commercial that she did with Mary J. Blige, where Mary is singing to her about,
oh my god,
like, police brutality,
and she looks so uncomfortable. She's like, "How do I react?" She's like, "How do I react to this?"
I would have reacted the same way.
I mean, the setup itself is just awkward, but you just see her like, she's like, her eyes are like, she's like squinting her eyes and like nodding slowly as if she's like receiving the word that Mary is bestowing upon her. And it's just,
they're like, you told me I was going to be talking with Oprah. What the fuck is this?
Like, she told her intern after that, what the fuck was that shit?
She said, don't ever do that. Put that shit again.
She said, we'll child the ghetto.
She said, how many black people we need to win?
Stop it. Oh my god.
She's like, that had to be enough to get my numbers up in the polls.
She said, that's it.
No more niggers.
She said, you tell Deborah Lee to stop calling me. That is it. I'm not going to BET anymore.
Also, there's that picture of her going into that person's house and she's like looking around disgusted.
Oh,
you see that picture?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The best meme of that is when it's that, and then it goes when you go into your Grindr hookup's house and don't know if this is gonna be your last moment.
But yeah. So anyway, today's gerfuffle. I don't know.
Gerfuffle.
Gerfuffle. I don't know. That sounds like something a white person. It sounds like something she would say. Misstep or misspeak. No, she didn't misspeak. She said what she said. She was talking about Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, and she said that she didn't feel like it was an abuse of power on his part because Monica Lewinsky was an adult legally. So the issue with that is that her husband was the president of the United States, one of the most powerful positions in the United States of America. And Monica Lewinsky was an intern. And she was 22. And her husband, and Bill Clinton was like, what, in his 60s or 50s?
50s, I think.
I don't know. It's really hard to
even
tell.
Even if he was in his 40s, like, that's like...
Yeah. I mean, regardless of his age because of his position. But, like, yes, age matters. Like, your age, yes, there's a power imbalance with someone who's older than someone else. Whether they're both legally adults or not. So that's interesting that she chose to come out here and talk.
And it's like, so like, here's the thing that like has been kind of weird about this whole thing is that like a lot of big groups that would have, if this was like anybody else, would have blown the person like off of Twitter or out of the water. Do you know what I'm saying? Like anybody else saying this would have received a large backlash and like a lot of criticism, but since it's Hillary Clinton, it's like everyone is just like, oh, okay, it's like our white liberal hero, so like let's just let her do what she needs to do. And this is like I'm gonna try to be quick about this, but like this is kind of the thing with like Lana and just like maybe like white folks in general when it comes to like their heroes or the people that they respect, is like they are much more concerned with like coming after somebody like lower on the totem pole of power, like a black celebrity, versus somebody who's actually gonna hold a position of power and like actually holding them accountable for the shit that they say. Because Hillary Clinton has done and said, and repeatedly so, a lot of fucked up shit, and like for whatever reason, nobody wants to hold her accountable. At least nobody that, you know, would normally hold people doing things of this manner accountable. So it's just kind of like, this is why I've always been very kind of critical of folks that are like super Democratic and like anyone who has a Democrat stamp and is the most popular Democrat, like I'm gonna go for them, and like any criticism, like I'm just gonna ignore, because it's just like this politician is not gonna grow as a politician if you don't hold them accountable for what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And you're also not gonna get the support of the people that want to be able to like take power if you don't actually acknowledge their needs and like their concerns. So yeah, I think this is incredibly fucked. And it's not, it is absolutely not surprising to me that like everybody that it was coming for the throats of whatever celebrity that like is just a celebrity and is a person of color or black, and like has much less power than Hillary Clinton is saying absolutely nothing about Hillary Clinton. So yeah, not surprising to me at all. But yeah, anybody else have anything else to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to segue into something, but...
Oh.
Wait.
I mean, we can do that too. That's fine.
Because you went to Lana. I was like, oh, which direction is he going to go?
How long do we have? How long do we have?
We have like 5 minutes.
15 minutes, really?
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Are we going in that direction?
Yeah, I guess we have to.
It's been wild.
So the girls are fighting.
The girls are fighting.
What's the tea? What's the tea?
Oh my god!
Wait, can somebody?
Lana Del Rey said, "You got my addy. Pull up."
I live.
Bitch, I was like, girl, you need to write a diss track now. Like,
I said,
today.
wait a minute. I just, do you know how much, like, do you know what you have to do to piss off Lana to, like Lana Del Rey literally does nothing but smoke weed and, like, replay the same thing on loop and go, oh! And so to get her to be like, pull up.
Pull up.
I'm like, wait,
You know the Addy?
She has a Glock. I know she does.
I know she does too. It's probably the one she had in the in that video where she's running on the beach. Get high on the beach.
I really feel like Lana Del Rey has shot someone. I really do.
Can we like backtrack a little? Can someone like give us the Cliff Notes of what's happening between the girls?
So since we have 15 minutes, we will go very quickly over this. I will not go and search for the tweets. Basically, Azalea Banks was talking shit about Lana for coming out and speaking out against Kanye, which we spoke about a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, he's a black man and you're just coming for like a black man and blah blah blah. And like, I will like agree that I think, well, let's continue. I'll continue, keep telling the story. So Lana came for Kanye, then Azalea came for Lana for being a white woman and coming for Kanye and not other people. And then Lana came for Azalea and said, hey, sis, like, you know, you have my address, like, pull up. Then Azalea made fun of her body. And then Lana said that she needs to get her medication updated.
This is just...
And so, yes.
Ghetto.
And so then Azalea called Lana out for shaming her for mental illness, for having mental illness.
Woo,
and then she said that she was gonna. Then she said that Lana fell into her trap and she was using her to sell Bussy Boy soap. Then she said that she was gonna sue her, or like she alluded that she was gonna speak to her lawyer about whatever was going on with Lana. And then she decided that she was actually going to fight Lana. So then she said, hey, sis, like, send me your address. Which I guess, so apparently she doesn't have the Addy. I don't know. She said, send me your address. And then I'm actually going to pull up. But if you don't do it, I'm going to let everybody know, basically, that, you know, you just did this for I was going to say the gram, for Twitter. So, that's what happened.
For the Vine.
I cannot believe any of this is real. It sounds like
so is Trump. So Kanye's supporting Trump, and then Azalea supporting Kanye, and then Lana coming for Kanye. This is like the Gemini games. Like, may the odds ever be problematic.
Time out. Isn't Iggy Azalea somewhere involved in this too?
Oh my God! What sign is she?
You guys, wait,
literally,
you see that?
Literally.
No, Iggy Azalea is now involved in this fight too.
Oh, I don't care about her, but honestly, I really don't care.
Girl, sell your album. Stop trying to. Anyway.
Oh my God, another Gemini.
Because I know that like Iggy Azalea jumped in, and like her and Azalea Banks started like tweeting at each other, and I'm sorry I didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah,
no one cares about Iggy Azalea.
I'm just saying, like it's.
She said. If you stop ranting on Twitter, I'll help you out, sis, because it can't be safe to be making Bussy Boy in the same closet that you're sacrificing chickens.
Dang. Like out of nowhere, right? Like unprompted.
Yeah,
needs some attention.
Azalea's like, where did you come from? Azalea's like, what the fuck?
This whole thing is just so funny.
It sounds like fan fiction. Like someone.
It really is. It's like
I need to know the Tumblr bitch that is running the world right now. Like,
I'm telling you.
Who is it? Like, what is going on?
It's a simulation. It's the Gemini games. I'm telling you.
You know how in Star Wars, like, the whole story of Star Wars is like the Skywalker family fucking up everything? This is literally the story of Geminis fucking up
oh my God.
everything. And it's like Aries did nothing but mind their fucking business. And here y'all go, destroying the goddamn universe.
It's gonna be
wait,
like
what did we find out about Aries base?
Huh?
What did we find out about Aries last time we were talking about how Aries are not problematic?
So anyway, Lady Gaga was in A Stars Born.
Most well-known Aries in the world is Hitler.
Lady Gaga
Adolf
was
Hitler,
in,
if you weren't
Lady
familiar.
Gaga. Lady Gaga did a great job in A
Lady
Stars
Gaga. Have you seen that clip of Kanye? He's like, what Gaga did.
What the fuck does she know about cameras?
Wait, okay, but does anyone have a clear stance? Or
I definitely have a clear stance. So here's how I feel about it. I definitely do feel like white people like definitely come for black people a lot more and try to hold us more accountable than they do their own people. I definitely think that a lot of that energy should be directed at the people who can actually like change shit, which is white people. That being said, Lana did not lie. There were no lies told.
Period.
And Azalea Banks is like, she's literally, you know what? Azalea Banks reminds me of someone that I am familiar with. I don't even want to say I know them that well, but I know them well enough to know that there's someone who's an abuser and they use social justice language to hide their abuse or cover up their abuse.
Period.
And Azalea Banks reminds me a lot of that. She's that person that she can talk about how, you know, she literally just tweeted about how like Milo is fun and how like she misses him, who's a white supremacist. And she can talk about all this stuff and she can say like, oh, like Lana, go get some liposuction, and then turn around and cry because homegirl said that she needs to get up her dosage. Like, you can't she can't take anything. Like, she could go on Wild 'N Out. Is that what it's called? Wild 'N Out. And sit up there and cry. And this is anti-black. This is anti-black. This is anti-black. And it's like, bitch, this is anti-black. That's what she said. This is anti-black. This is anti-black. And it's like, this is anti-black, but bitch, you was sitting up there talking all this shit. There's literally a clip of you, which I actually love using as a reaction, but it's like, you black bitch. You black bitch. She's talking about a 14-year-old girl. Okay, so she literally has like Azalea Banks is a horrible person. Like, that's what I just want to start off right here.
Period.
Because she is a horrible, disgusting human being, and it goes beyond anything else. She is a horrible human being. She makes good music, and I'll give her that, and I'll probably continue to listen to it. But she is a disgusting human being, and she continues to do things and then try to switch it around, and then suddenly try to use social justice language when it works in her favor. She's not about any of this shit. She doesn't give a fuck about any of it. She switches sides. She was literally talking about, oh, Cardi B, I hate Cardi B. And then next minute, oh, I hate Nicki. Like, this girl does not know what's going on. Like, she's constantly switching sides. She's constantly attacking different people. She wants to be on this person's side. Then she wants to be fake with this person. First she was gonna call her lawyer on Lana Del Rey, and then she was just using her for Bussy Boy promotion. And then she was gonna actually fight her, which I still haven't heard anything about. So I just think that like people really need to be conscious of that when they're talking about her, because I think a lot of stuff is like, oh, but Azalea's a black woman. Yes, she's a horrible person. She's a horrible black woman.
Oh my God.
And you can be a black woman and be a horrible person, and that's what she is. So that's what I have to say about that.
Holy shit.
That was beautiful, man. I don't have anything else to add. Actually, yes, I do. Period. Period. I agree.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, so where else are we
a
going?
rebuttal?
I don't think I'm going to rebuttal that.
I'm not going to rebuttal that either. Quite honest.
Really, girl? I was counting on it.
On me to rebuttal that Azealia fucks up?
No, that she's a horrible person.
Oh, I mean, I can't. That's not even my place to say. So
you can't say she's a horrible person. I'm gonna say this. I definitely think that people should be careful about, conscious more so, I should say, about calling people out. You should definitely be spreading it around, but I don't think that black people are above reproach. I just don't think
right. But for me,
like
I feel like they're not above reproach from like other black folks. Like sometimes it's like weird. It becomes like it gets into weird territory when like non-black folks start talking. I guess I just feel
like when you're
like I hear like I even before like a lot of this shit started happening, the way that like people like non-black folks would talk about Azealia or like black celebrities in general.
Definitely true.
Has made me like really uncomfortable because I'm just like you seem like you're really enjoying harping on this person.
But I think that there's a way that you can criticize black people without making it about blackness too. It's the way. It's the same way that people criticize Obama without. Some people criticize Obama without making it about blackness. It's about policies.
For sure.
It's like the same thing. And so for her, I think she's a fucking trashy ass human being.
Oh my god, you guys!
I'm
waiting for my order of bussy soap to come in.
You guys, look. Look, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I'm not going to sit up here and act like the stuff she said isn't horrible. Like we haven't sat on this show for however many ever weeks and sat here and said people that said stuff like this is terrible. She's done terrible things. That is fine. You are able to. It is fine if you are like people are able to like. If that is okay for you and you want to listen to the music, that is fine. I have listened to Young Rapunzel too in the last however many months or whatever. I say I don't like her all the time. I didn't listen to it yesterday.
I thought you were going to say in the last half hour.
No, I have not. No. I have not listened to Azealia Banks since I've started smoking weed because that's terrifying. But like, I
did listen to Anna Wintour yesterday.
No, but the thing is, here's the thing is, I'm also able to say that she has done terrible things, and I've said terrible things. She's said things, and the other thing is too, you cannot use your blackness as this excuse. When you do terrible things, sorry, I'm wrapping up. I haven't talked. Fine, you just can't do that. You know how I feel about her, and yes,
Oh my god. I mean, Azealia Banks, if you're listening, please don't cancel my order.
Okay. Same.
Period.
John with the real tea.
Anyway, look, we're gonna wrap up right now, but we want to say thank y'all. So actually, I'm actually gonna do kind of like the outros here, and then we'll fade into the discourse.
Okay.
So we're gonna end the episode here, and we'll give the rest of the episode to the discourse. And I'm really excited for y'all to hear it. It's really, really good. And John did an amazing job moderating, and I'm very proud of her.
Thank you.
And y'all, John kind of like went in there and like took the reins, and it was like, I was feeling things. It was a lot.
Just like
also shout out to Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. For coming on the show.
Thank you to the guest Amanda Lee, Jimmy Joy, Jeffrey Park. Really love you guys. Thank you so much. And I'm excited for the listeners to hear it. I'm excited for you guys to hear it. And if we get good feedback, then maybe we'll have a part 2 of this.
Yeah, and we really like doing something like this, and this kind of came a lot from feedback that we got, and so we wanted to incorporate that into the show. So,
and most of all, I wanted to thank you boys for giving us the discourse. So thank you.
Oh, we didn't give it to you.
allowing us this opportunity.
You worked hard. You grinded until you owned it.
Mm-hmm.
You twirled on them haters. Albino alligators.
All right. So,
but yeah. Anyway, you can find us everywhere at Trash of Color. I'm sorry, on Twitter at Trash of Color. Everywhere else at Podcast of Color. Does anyone have any thank yous this week?
No.
Thank you, water signs.
Aren't y'all the ones fucking up everything?
Oh.
No, that's Gemini. That's an air sign.
Oh,
the Geminis are doing what now? The Geminis are pure fucking entertainment, bitch. Okay? Don't let a few bad apples don't ever forget that the twins, Beyonce's twins, the only twins that matter are Geminis.
You were about to say
Gemini's twins.
You were about to say, don't let a few bad apples spoil the bunch. Then you realize that shit was bullshit because a few bad apples are spoiling the whole fucking bunch. So
no,
fuck
they're not,
y'all.
bitch.
They sure.
That's real life Jim. Okay, Naomi Campbell, Beyonce's twins. Those are the only ones I can think of right now. I'll come up with a list later. But bitch. Prince.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Anyway,
you guys are always waiting. This discrimination is a problem, and we're really going to have to get an organization, a national organization together to combat this. Also wanted to say, shit, I don't even have the information. I literally was about to do this on the fly because I just remembered. But a former guest that we had on, Travis Alabanza, has a show called Burgers with a Z happening in London soonish. Huh?
I said, come on, Travis.
Yes, and soonish in London. I'm sure if you just go to Travis's Instagram, Travis Alabanza, you'll find more information on that. But if you could go out and support some queer content, that would be amazing. Thanks.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. And with that, we will see y'all next week.
Wait,
I mean, enjoy the discourse. Then we'll see you next week.
Yeah, do that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Podcast of Color. So this episode, we wanted to do something a little different. We've listened to other podcasts regarding topics surrounding the Asian community. What I felt was a little lacking in some of what I've heard is specifically from an Asian Pacific Islander and queer aspect, or people who identify on that spectrum. So today, I have some special guests with me. We'll start over to my left.
Okay. Hi, my name is Amanda Lee. I'm an artist and PhD candidate at UCLA studying queer aesthetics, particularly modern art by queer and gender nonconforming and trans folks who also identify as being part of the Cantonese diaspora. And I myself am a queer, gender non-binary, first-generation Cantonese person of the diaspora, which means that my family is indigenous to Guangdong Province, otherwise known as Canton Province in southern China, and moved as a result of forced migration. And my pronouns are she and they.
Wow, Amanda.
That was awesome.
That's it. We're done with the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Go ahead.
I am Jeffrey Park. Identify as an Aquarius Korean. They go hand in hand. I think in terms of identity, I've gone through so many different ones where Asian American actually was the best one, and then it was Asian, and then it was Korean American, and then Korean, and now it's a little bit of nothing in all of it. So I think I for sure will forever be trying to figure out what the fuck kind of Asian I am in the broader sense.
Yeah, that's real. What are your pronouns, Jeff?
Oh, he, him. Sorry about that.
No, that's cool. Thank you. And then over here.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy. I am a PhD candidate at USC in chemistry. I'm in my 5th year right now. Originally from India. I moved here for school. My pronouns are he, him, his.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm from India originally. Grew up on the West Coast in a place like LA for the first 21 years of my life, and then moved to LA for school.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being here. There's a lot to cover, but I think I'm gonna let the guests decide. And let's go with Amanda. Our experiences, as someone who identifies as LGBTQ and Asian, what is most? Let's start with what do you want to see more in media about in visibility regarding our communities?
That's a really big question. I would love, first of all, on my list of demands, I want Crazy Rich Asians to not be seen as moving forward, because it's not. First of all.
Yeah, that's
Second of all, real. I want you're giving me like a dream list, I feel like right now. Second of all, I want more of this like amazing thing that I feel like is happening now in media, especially like young fashion, I think, which is like this new like interest or like inspiration around androgynous, like queer, gender non-conforming folks. And I see a lot of mostly people of color doing that, and I love that. So I want more of that.
Nice. Let's talk about that first thing. We had an episode regarding Crazy Rich Asians, and then you and me actually were talking about our thoughts regarding that and kind of like the double-edged sword of the movie. What's everyone's consensus? I know Amanda said not moving forward. What's that about?
Well, to me, it was seen by a lot of folks as more of like a vision of more Asian American people in the media, and like we're moving forwards towards this, towards a place where we can actually have a film that is a full cast of Asian Americans, and that's supposed to be like progressing in terms of like Hollywood and media, which I completely disagree with for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is it. This is us on TV or in the movies," and then there were a lot of us that were like, "Wait, this is like one tone of Asian, and not actual Taiwanese folks, right?"
Yeah. I mean, the cast, the film itself is based on a book that was based off of, it was supposed to be satirical, and the author drew inspiration from basically a reality TV show about Trump and like the Trump family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I think it's really funny that like this is supposed to be a step forward for Asian America. Like, why would you want to be, for your image and media, to be this stereotypical like terribly rich like group of people? And in addition to that, like the film itself completely erases like so many different ethnicities. It perpetuates this idea of the model like minority Asian American who's an East Asian first of all, and then a very specific type of East Asian. So it's a very wealthy Chinese person who doesn't even start to encompass like all the different ethnicities that there are in China. China is a massive place, and as a Chinese, like someone whose family is from China, I can tell you right now that this is like a very specific type of Chinese person, and it works in very particular ways as a tool for institutional racism in the U.S., which is that this is the same stereotype of like all Asians that we are fed over and over and over again in the U.S., which actually forms barriers between other ethnicities.
Right.
I mean,
I saw you snapping your fingers over here, Jimmy.
I mean, I agree with Amanda. 2 notes about the movie. One, not only did they show a very tiny portion of Chinese Americans, that population, but it showed the only Indian characters in it were like the guards guarding the grandma's house, which I found really offensive because they were so typically depicted, and they were so out of place for that time. They looked like they were from the British Raj, which does not exist anymore, and so they were dressed with these big mustaches and in this garb that was so anachronistic. It felt really awful seeing that. Also, the movie as a whole, I think, was just depicted how, capitalism cannot be saved by diversifying it. It almost said, like, if you're a minority and you make it, that sort of speaks to how great capitalism is. But in the end, the movie showed how even within the family, there's like different class structures, and the workers are shown as a lower class and basically not seen in the front of the house. So yeah, not many good thoughts about that movie.
Jeff, what do we think?
I think like both of you guys have described it so well, and I think a lot of me also agrees with that. Like, of course, like I went into seeing the movie like very excited.
Yeah.
I love me a good constant woo, so I wasn't gonna like hate on that. But I think I found myself like when I was watching the movie, I was trying to find like every single piece of the movie that I would find upsetting. And of course, like from start to finish, I found every single thing upsetting about it. And it began like stimulating this forever conversation of like, when do we get to have like that next part, right? Our components and narratives that make sense. Cause I think there's also a lot of things that the movie executed very well. Not saying that it's like a great movie or that we should hold it up to some sort of standard, but I think like ultimately it always like touches back on this like queer experience, right? Like I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking like, well, of course she went through that because it's always your own fucking people, right? Like they're the first ones who told me like, you don't mean anything, right? Or the people who look exactly like me, the ones who want to support me and all these different things. And I think there is that like inner battle between ourselves and each other because there is like a fight for that narrative because part of that lack of visibility is everyone wants theirs to like kind of come front, you know? And so we were talking about like oppression wars, infinity wars, like the battle to the end, like who's going to win out top and who's going to actually, and it goes back to this like very competitive nature. And I think that's often what I see, like when I see those movies is like, I didn't leave it thinking like, oh my God, this is one of the greatest films that are going to impact me because there's a bunch of different ones. Like, I'm gonna admit it, I still love Harry Potter, and I think that will like govern the way I look at dynamics of people more than like most things. But yeah, all in all, I think it just like stimulated a larger conversation on like, when do we get like the next part of this story? Because I got this part, but I'm like, what happens like next when everyone's fucked up and like trying to figure their family shit out? Yeah. But it's very interesting because like my family's also not huge like that. Yeah. I have a very small family and we're not connected. And so a lot of it was like, well, that's not really my experience. So
yeah, that was it's really interesting to hear all your points of views regarding this movie because I think for the most part we've heard all like the rave reviews like this is our I don't know, Black Panther or something. But then when I watched it, I was like, yeah. And then, what was the second portion? We were Crazy Rich Asians, or...
Oh, I was talking about how, I feel like there's been this move towards, like, queer androgyny, gender nonconformity in art. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I read some article that they're like, whenever there's a new, social movement like with being genderqueer, capitalism like just jumps on it. I don't know if you saw that. It was in the New York Times about like they were doing this whole article about people who identify as they them and then like how fashion is jumping on that. But like I don't know, I always thought fashion was like kind of always queer to begin with. I don't know, what are your thoughts on the I guess genderqueer and fashion and
I don't know that much about fashion, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was going to rephrase that question, but...
I mean, I think it helps to, like, separate fashion from big fashion houses. Genderqueer people have always been playing with fashion in, like, Vogue balls and in the houses of New York, where, you know, they basically picked up trash that other people had thrown away and repurposed it to fit their identity and gender and body and make it fashion. And now, yeah, big fashion houses are jumping on it. So that's what capitalism does all the fucking time. Is that it sees a trend and it sees to make money off of it while, you know, people in third world countries are making these clothes, earning cents an hour, but they're selling it to us, playing to our identity and our weak points like that.
Yeah, and I think, well, at least like on a personal level, because I also don't know like too much about fashion per se, but I think like when it goes back to like those like gender fluid norms or like masc femme dichotomies, I think about, at least for me, when I came out, and it is a generalization, but it's also like partly based in my truth, which is like when I came out, I was on the femme totem pole, buying part of like what I looked like. Right. And I will totally admit, I bought into toxic masculinity. I wanted to show it. I wanted to wear it because I needed to prove to everyone that I would never, ever, ever like show any lack of that. And so therefore I started dressing like that, acting like that, talking like that. And I bet by in part the way that I look like, why I have a mustache, why I have a tattoo, even though I like them, is partly based off of like this pre-notion that I had. And I think it's hard because now in a world that is so promoting of the fluidity, I find myself in a bit of a contradiction. Yeah. Where there's nothing wrong with it, but it's going back to like, how do I grapple like the reality that we're dynamic people? Like, it's not just about like just these singularities, you know, but how do we wrap all of them together? Because it's hard, because I don't think I've ever felt masc or femme enough. And that's part of, I think, like, at least my, like, Korean experiences.
Right. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think as, you know, we're all in, like, the Asian Pacific Island spectrum here, right? So, like, I feel in our community specifically, especially, like, for example, masculine presenting folks, when other ethnicities see us, I think we're expected to be more feminine. Like, what was it? I think it was like Steve Harvey that was saying, like, don't like Asian, like dating an Asian man is not they're not really men, you know, when people look at us. And then when it comes to like femme presenting folks, when it comes to Asian femme presenting folks, that we're supposed to be like this.
I mean, there is definitely this trope of white men dating Asian women because they have this idea of like Asian women being submissive and they want to assert their masculine dominance over that. I think sort of that color plays into being, into gay relationships too, where you see Asian men as effeminate and submissive.
How do you think, this is for everyone here, and we're just jumping off what Jeff had said, how does being queer and like the masculine femininity politics play into being with our Asian identities?
I think it's hard for me because it goes back to like just thinking of it like larger and structurally of like, at least once again for me and my family, it comes from like Buddhist philosophies, and so therefore there's like a calmness to it, right? Like every fucking person in LA is a Buddhist. And so I would say most people would say it's a very like femme religion. It's not aggressive. It's like, you know, you eat, pray, and love. And it's all about like finding yourself. And it lends to this quote unquote feminine energy. And by in part, I think like I'm going to own it to it. Like, yes, like use our religions and our philosophies to find your inner peace. But like, I think that generates this idea that there is calmness, and I'll take it. Like, we are fucking calm. We know what the fuck we're doing. And so like, so I just think like people need to take context. Like if you're going to take some of our context and make and throw jokes, like use it all, understand where it's all coming from. Like,
I mean,
so yeah, but that's,
they try to. I have to, give shout out to all the white women learning yoga, right? And it like irritates me so much because yoga in India, the way it evolved, was supposed to be a spiritual method to like reach, mental and physical well-being. But when I came here, like I've never done yoga in India. When I moved here, like every person was doing yoga, and they see it as some sort of this workout where you go into this like box that's like steamy and hot in the morning, and everyone's sweating and grunting and farting, and it's like, no, that's not yoga. Why are you straining yourself? Why are you stressed out? Why are you sweating? Yoga is supposed to start in the mind. It's supposed to be peaceful and relax your body and be healthy. It's white people try to appropriate everything and they fail at it so bad.
Just going back to your question though, for me, queerness is really deeply embedded in my family. My grandma is queer. Yeah, she had like a long relationship with another woman. And my mom has 6 brothers and sisters, and there's a number of cousins who are queer, gender nonconforming, like trans, all of that. So for me, I think that like when I think about being Cantonese and being queer, it's helpful for me to remember that queerness isn't something new. You know, it's not. Yeah. It's something that's really old, and my family has been queer for a long time. So it's really natural for me. It's not like I never really came out. Like I told my mom that I was queer, and I've explained to her what being poly means. I'm also poly. But as far as like coming out, I had to come out more to like people that I didn't care about, which didn't affect me as much. From my family, I was like, oh, okay. Like you also like people of all genders, and that was totally normal for my family.
That's amazing. I want to touch on that sentiment you said about being like queer has been a thing, because I think for all of our cultures, like we have been there already. I saw this article about how like third gender and being genderqueer was a thing in a lot of Asian communities, and then it was just the binary was because of colonization, Christianity.
Right. I think all nature-based religions, and who talks about it a lot? Joseph Campbell talks about it a lot. All pagan religions, pagan-like, or nature religions, have this concept of like gender, queerness, and it being on a spectrum. And it's when Catholic missionaries moved to India and China and brought in this idea of like shame and guilt and sex being something to be ashamed about, that everything had to be dichotomized and like split into just rigid boundaries.
Yeah.
There are temples in India, in Khajuraho, which like depicts priests having sex with kings. And it used to be so prevalent in India, and Hinduism is a very queer-friendly religion. And we had anti-homosexual laws brought in just because the British came in and colonized and established their rules.
It was in the news recently because
we
India,
recently decriminalized homosexuality again. I mean, amen for that. But
because
Heteronormativity is a tool of colonialism.
amen.
right,
It really is.
I saw all these like congratulations to India like posts, and it's just like y'all were there before all that. Like
it was just a relic of like the British Raj again. Yep.
It's just, I think it's interesting how people see our cultures and like, oh man, it must be awful to be queer and from that culture, but it's like, we were kind of here first, but if it weren't for your people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else is something I want to talk about, with that I think affects most of us is dating and being queer and Asian. What is that like for everyone?
Ooh, opening that box.
Yeah, if we don't feel comfortable talking about it, that's fine.
am. Call some motherfuckers out.
Okay.
So, when I first moved here, I was like 110 pounds. I was really effeminate and just like this fresh off the boat kind of guy. And I did not get laid a lot. I sort of think I gave in to the pressure and just like gave into toxic masculinity and just realized, if I have to get laid, I have to like be perceived as this one kind of person. So I just like put on weight and, just like gave into the whole peer pressure thing to get laid. So there's definitely pressure to present yourself as something that's not foreign, as something that's easily palatable to mainstream culture. If you want to remain prevalent in the dating pool in LA, especially because it's such a looks-based society here. Predominantly, I'm not saying everyone is, but just my experience of it.
Yeah. And I don't think I can have this episode without asking, what are our reactions when we see not into Asians? Like unfiltered.
I immediately take a screenshot because if I'm going to recognize that person, I'm going to put it on Facebook because I will call a racist asshole out. Because call all of them out because, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Because they present one kind of identity publicly. They show themselves as all for equality and anti-racism, but in their dating profiles where their faces are hidden and, where they're hidden by that online anonymity, I think a very evil side comes out. So I'll always call them out if I know who they are.
Nice.
I think it's funny that you say that because for me, as someone who presents really femme, what I get a lot of the times is people are really, like, men love to exotify an Asian woman. They love it. So for me, like, I'm in a place in my life right now where I don't really date a lot of men. But I always, like, have that. It's kind of like, where you're waiting on the ledge for someone to, like, push you over because they're just like, you're going to wait for that moment until someone is finally like, oh, you're so, like, exotic, Or, like, I love Asian women. Like, I had someone tell me specifically, a white woman tell me recently that she was raised in New York. She learned Cantonese, and then she went to Hong Kong because she loves Cantonese women, and her favorite porn star is Cantonese, and she like followed this porn star. Yeah, it was like a whole thing.
Oh, that's fetishization.
Yeah, and it's so embedded in our culture, especially when it comes to women as well as Asian men, and like for me specifically, how that like relates more broadly is that I've experienced a lot of sexual violence because of the way that Asian femmes are exotified.
Right. And is that from from men, women, and everyone?
Oh, yeah, mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, about that woman going to China. I've always like thought that white men and had that, but I didn't know that. Like, I can't imagine. Like, I didn't imagine a woman like saying, "I'm really into Asian women." Like, it's pretty wild.
That's a white part of being a white woman.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way as everyone else. No one really likes that. I'm also like, let's get a new joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, is there a new way to say this? Because like, I can see your picture and I'm like, oh, it's gonna say it. Let's scroll down. Oh, there it is. But I think it goes just back to like, I know I can sit here and part of it is being super upset because it's upsetting. But I think a large part of like me in the last couple years is just acknowledging like the fact that I don't really get the full like bunt of when they say no Asians because I know what kind of Asian I look like. And part of that is grappling and accepting the fact that like there was a while where I was like, well, I'm not like those Asians.
Right.
And kind of like being like totally truthful to myself. Like, you know, when my parents moved here, like a lot of Koreans, they came to Los Angeles, you know, we adapted and, you know, part of that. And once again, like understanding that there is like a huge difference there. And sometimes when I am with my own like Korean community, I oftentimes know that there's like a break. You know, they're always like, oh, you're so like political and you're so social about shit. And I get what they're saying, but I think it comes back to like there is a huge difference. And I know like that passability that I can navigate certain spaces and know like I talk like this, and so people will receive me a different way because it's obviously way different when my parents are in a space and me. And so kind of like I think about that a lot, about how like being aware and like checking my own like passability, I guess, because I think it's moving into like there's a larger movement now of folks who do speak like this and understand and have that insight, and that is a privilege. And so I think that's what I'm trying to figure out next is like, I think the reason why oftentimes I see like the posters and they're so uplifting, right? It's like black, brown, trans, Muslim, but I never see yellow, right? And there's a reason like partly why that conversation is not fully there. And I'm always like, there's more to it. And I think that's why this is so cool, and just hearing these different narratives is because it's so dramatically different. You know, I also think like, and I don't know if it's because our colonization is still happening right now, that like we still have our own languages and how it's so distinct and like variant amongst like Asian cultures. And that's what I do love about being Asian is like somehow we all kept our languages for the most part. I know that there's probably a bunch of people who like lost theirs too through colonization, and I just think like there's something really unique about our experience, and it goes back to like how do we bring this conversation in to like the black and brown ones as well, because I think like yes, maybe we are not being like systematically targeted here in, you know, the US, but you know, at least once again, it's just speaking in like Korean experiences, like there is a huge missile crisis happening over there. And they're trying to build bases over there and send tanks. And I'm like, no, there's no room there. And I think like people forget these things like, hey, you know, like on the map, there's only one country that's split in half. I know like we're all used to it, but like, what's the deal, right? No other countries are split in half. You know, and so it's like bringing these conversations back to like the larger context, and that they are very different. Right. But how do we begin like bringing it together? Because that's what I'm curious about too.
That's a really good question.
I went on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
I mean, the conversation's not complete without talking about the flip side of this, which is how some people just fetishize minorities, and that's all they're into. Like, my first relationship was with this guy, 26 years my senior, a white guy, lawyer, well-established. It was an okay relationship. Looking back, there were many red flags I didn't see. But he was someone, I feel like he was just into me at that point because I was just this idea of, like, an exotic brown boy that he just picked up in India. No. So, yeah, I think as queer people of color, that's something we have to deal with too is like, is this person liking me because of who I am, or is he just like fetishizing me in his head and liking me for like some idea of me that he has in his mind? And when is that going to disappear and he realizes that he doesn't like me for who I am? Yeah. Life is so wonderful.
I wanted to talk flip side of that. I think like Jeff and I have sort of like a passability similar like vibe, right? What do you guys think? I like when people say they're into Asians, we know what type of Asian, right? Is what we were thinking, or what you were saying earlier. What is the sentiment, if you guys ever experienced it, when people say the opposite, when they're like, you're not Asian enough? Has that ever happened to you? When people say that you're not Asian enough?
They go hand in hand, I feel like, both those statements. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So when people say like they're into Asians, I always think, fuck, like what do people see me as? And I've experienced it in both in the dating world a lot, because like I know what I look like. I sort of have this possibility. I've did it with like apps all the time. I put like mixed or like other, because I know that people don't assume Filipino when they see me. And so because of that, I've experienced like going to my own communities. Like I grew up at like Rage on a Friday where all the Asians would go, and like yeah, exactly, still do, like 10 years like running strong. But like when I used to go there when I was younger, and I like was still like had a beard, and like these like this group of Filipino gays, like twink Filipino gays, like came up to me, was like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, you should go to the Eagle or something. Cause like, you know, this is like, oh, they were giving me the up down, like, you're not Asian enough. And that sort of like made me feel really weird about being queer and Asian. Cause I was excited to connect with my community, but also like, I didn't feel like I was enough for that. Right. Do you guys ever go through that?
I mean, I don't think people consider Indians or Pakistanis or Sri Lankans technically Asian in America, so I don't even know where to begin with that.
That's a good point.
It's like, I mean, geography is not, I mean, education is not white people's strong point, but I'm just going to say they don't even consider Indians as Asians, so yeah. Or some sort of exotic land that lies in between here and there.
I feel like that question relates more to me outside of dating. I feel like maybe the scene that I'm dating in is a little bit different from all of yours.
Yeah.
And like I don't get that as much, but and I'm also like not on apps. But for me, like being not Asian enough has been constant in my life because I am mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So
what do you experience it like with work or
like my entire life, you know, it's like the mixed race story of not being like enough of one or enough of the other. But for me personally, the way that I relate to it is that I also have had so many experiences of racism, and I'm understanding of my proximity to whiteness, my ability to pass in certain spaces. Of course, if you don't look at my face, really, because if you look at my face, you know I'm not white. But But
people are like doing the math, right?
Yeah, people like do the math. They ask you, what are you, all the time. But I understand that I have a certain privilege when it comes to being East Asian and having such a proximity to whiteness and using that privilege in a lot of other spaces. And then also knowing that like everyone's story is different. You can be East Asian like I am and have had like the experience of coming first generation from the diaspora. Like I've had, you know, my family has been in poverty for generations. Like I have been bullied and teased for like so many different things, you know. Not everyone is the stereotypical like Chinese that you see in mass media. Not that I'm arguing like not all Chinese people, but you know, there's like so many different ethnicities that are not like crazy rich Asians.
For me, at least, oh my god, my brain just went blank. What were we talking about?
When not being Asian enough, like, so I know I said like dating, and I'm really glad. Sorry, Amanda, I wasn't trying to limit everybody, but like, what areas do we experience that in?
Yes, I think pretty much just like growing up, whenever I figured out like the queer part was coming in, like 15-ish, right? And I think that's been a lot of my experiences with other like queer Asian folks is like, we were kind of like outliers of our communities from like an earlier age, and like a lot of the different ways, like the way we talk, the way we dress. And so therefore there was once again, like often, at least in my experience, like this privilege or passing identification with quote unquote white culture. Because at least where I grew up, you know, in high school in Orange County, like I started developing likes like, hey, I do like museums and poetry, and maybe I want to play the guitar to learn this song. And it became about like, well, you're not very Asian. Like you're starting to pick up hobbies and things that aren't, you're not allowed to like. Oh, what are those light jeans that are tight? Like, you know, and it just became once again, like going back to like Crazy Rich Asians really is like not identifying, but also identifying with this like collectivist like shame community. Yeah, I think like Ali Wong did this like thing, and she talks about like how she saw like a homeless Asian person out on the street, and she was like, "How are you out here? Who are your parents?" And it goes back to like this like collectivistness, like we all need to keep everything like in the family, and everything keeps like getting trapped, and no one gets to actually like have these narratives and once again build out. And so for me, it's like definitely family. It always, the family is always the ones who always tell me like, hey, you're not very Korean. Like a Korean person would do this, this, and this, and this, and this. Pretty much means like submit, like you should submit to your elders, essentially, the forever long.
Right. Respect your elders.
Yeah. I remember one time I was
take this abuse
in like a grocery store, and these two older women were fighting, and it was clear that like this other girl was just like, I am not going to defend you or anyone in front of my mom. And this mom was just like railing on this person in the store. And I just go back to like, you just kind of have to like eat it with your family and just like let them govern the way they want you to be. And so even though my parents are super supportive and they like love me and are okay with it, I still turn like a 13-year-old like, oh shit, like okay, let me listen.
Yeah. So we got a few minutes left. I want to knock some stuff out. I think we have about like 10 minutes left. What I think we all experience this one a lot. What's colorism like in our own specific communities? I think we all share like the similar notion, but like I think we all experience it too, right? In our individual communities, like, you know, you go to our grocery store and there's like a whitening soap aisle, and like, I don't think a lot of other folks know like the intricacies of what happens even within our own. So, what's that like for everybody?
I mean, it's a product of colonization again, especially in India, where everyone looks up to whiteness like it's some holier thing that you have to attain to be worthy of love. Growing up, all of my aunties had this thing called Fair and Lovely, which is this cream you put on your face and supposedly makes you white.
It's like bleaching, right?
And moving here, I'm so ashamed of this, but I used to be proud that I'm kind of light-skinned for an Indian. Oh. And, God, and I hated that about myself. Yeah. But, over the last year, thanks to my friend Ben, shout out to Ben, I love you. He made me realize how beautiful I am because I'm brown. And then ever since then, it's been like this discovery of like, God, every time I look in the mirror, I try to remind myself, brown is beautiful. I'm sexy. Brown is amazing. Color is good. Whatever that is. So colorism for sure in Indian community. Like they look up to being white, fair as something that's good. And there's so much racism against immigrants from African countries in India. That's so ugly too.
Oh my God. We're gonna get to anti-blackness within our community soon, but yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, it's the same in my community as well. Like you're supposed to cover everything when you go outside. Like you have to wear long sleeves. If I had like a lower cut shirt on, I was gonna catch a cold. Like you have to be, it's good if you're really light. I'm really light partly because I'm mixed. And my sister is actually slightly darker than me, so I saw a lot of that growing up.
Was there a lot of different treatment between you and your sister? Because
there was, and also like a lot of our we have family members who are white also. But that's like a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I try to not place value on irrelevant white people in my life.
Amen, sister.
Wow, I need to take note. Thank you.
Yes. I mean, it's there. I mean, I think when I just say Koreans, it has like a vibe to it that other Asian folks may hold. Because I think they are in the money-making culture. That's why I had to leave K-Town, because I can't afford my own neighborhood anymore. But I think all in all, it goes... I think like this funny like catch-up culture, once again, like at least for like Koreans, like until like the mid 1950s, I feel like a lot of people were just kind of like chilling and living off the land. And for the last like 50 plus years, like all these communities are like hyper developing. They're like going from the land to the future. And I think it kind of stunts a lot of things that happen. And I think that's where a lot of like colorism and like the adaptation to like white culture comes out. And it's like all of a sudden everyone is forgetting about like this very rich like historical, even for me, like I have to constantly like study and make sure this information is correct and I'm not reading it from someone who made it up, you know. And so it goes back to like, I think it is hard because it's also fighting with the queer narrative of like, you know what, I'm none of those things because I'm my own fucking person. You know, and it's just this constant battle of like, do I have to hold on to all this? But I do, kind of,
You mentioned Ellie Wong earlier, and I remember she was making this joke about like jungle Asians versus like the
city Asians.
What was it? Jungle Asians versus
She
who?
called it the city Asians, I think.
Oh no, did she? No, fancy Asians.
Fancy
She said
Asians, yes.
So we know we know what that is when she made that joke, right? But like segue, and she said it's she went on further. It's like good to date someone in your same race because you can shit on the same people. And what did she say when she said her and her husband got together? She shit on Korean people. What is up with what's up with the Korean? Why do we not like each other? What's that about? I don't know. I'm sorry. I was just putting you on the spot.
No. I think it's just like capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Money and competition. I just think like those two countries, America and Korea, like still continue. Like we're still a colony, you know, we may be free, but we're not. And so like just thinking about like, once again, like those dynamics, but it's different now. It's hard because like I also don't belong to that like community necessarily because once again, like my parents didn't like choose necessarily that pathway and it's no one's fault or blame, but it's hard to really say because I can imagine after being colonized for 200 years, you kind of just want to get some, and it's not maybe coming out in the most productive ways. But once again, it's like a go like community, right? Like let's be real, like the four of us, how typically Asian, we all have super higher education, right? There's this idea that like
why are you dragging us right now?
Okay,
so personal.
I have a master's of science too. I'm dragging myself too. Okay, like it's this idea that like
I played piano for 10 years. It's okay.
Oh my god, me too. Let's look at us.
I did not.
I tried playing the violin. I'm tone deaf.
But it just goes back to like collectivism and all those things, and I get it. Like everyone wants to just like come up, essentially,
level up.
But everyone's just borrowing from each other, and it's such a interesting. It's like the battle for, once again, the narrative. It's not a competition. Everyone can win. It's like Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. Just let them both win.
You let them both win.
Who's Nicki Minaj?
Rakeem is shaking his head.
I know.
Oh, whoa.
That was for you.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're going to get into that later. Minutes of color. But I'm super happy with the way this is going, and I wish we had more time, but we have about a few more minutes. What else do we want to get off our chest? Specifically with our... Oh, were you going to say something? Oh.
This is so off the tangent, but something that's like always been on my mind as a queer man of color is the last reunion episode of Drag Race and how RuPaul just went off on the Vixen. I just want to say the way RuPaul said it, of how like she was a black queen at some point, and if she was able to come up, all black queens should be able to come up, is such a beating on all the queer people of color out there who are working hard but can't come up because it's a different and harder time now. So I just want to say, if you're queer and if you're a person of color, don't listen to RuPaul. You're worthy of love. Even if you're working hard and not coming up, it's not your fault, but it's a hard society out there. It's a hard world. So don't beat yourself up. Like, find people who love you and bring you up, and don't watch that show anymore. Don't give them money.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Sorry, that was a rant, but I just had to get it out.
Okay, I'm like gonna go home and like not let you see what I've been watching lately.
I also have a last thought, but it's very unrelated to RuPaul's.
Let's go for it. Let's hear it.
Okay. I think that, like, bringing it back to, I think a few episodes ago you talked a little bit about decentering whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really important, especially when we're talking about, like, Asian communities in the U.S. and how they relate to other groups of people of color. The narrative that I hear a lot of the time is like, oh, this white person like did this to me, and then like really centering whiteness on a lot of like microaggressions and also racist experiences that people have. And I think it's really important to decenter whiteness in that way. So yes, there are a lot of fucked up things that white people do, but it's the more important thing, I think, is to focus on how different groups of people of color can work to dismantle racism, structural racism.
Yeah.
And also,
I wish we had you on that episode.
and I also just really want to like lean into what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode about how like a lot of the times the narrative of like Asians is this one single narrative about how like, oh, you like racial violence. I think on Still Processing they mentioned this, and they were talking about racial violence, and their examples were like, oh, my food was too smelly in school, like I got the slanty eye face, like I got the ching chong thing done to me. And for me, like, okay, yes, that maybe that was violent for you, like I'm sorry, but also for real though, those are microaggressions, and I think that we really need to lean in what we're talking about when we talk about racial violence, and the fact that a lot of Asian American communities and Asian communities like in the U.S. are really disenfranchised by racism. There's like there's such a vast amount of groups of people when we're talking about Asian Americans. You know, like the Cambodian population in East LA is like one of the poorest populations in all of Los Angeles. There's so many groups of Asian Americans that are at insanely high incarcerated rates. And then there's all kinds of groups who are like Cambodians, for example, in 2018. I know that they're supposed to be deporting like the largest amount of incarcerated folks from the U.S. and deportation of Asian American groups is not something we talk about, and maybe the reason why like incarceration rates aren't as high for Asian American groups is because they're deporting so many of them. You know, so there's just like such a vast amount of people when we talk about Asian Americans and racism and racial violence that I think it's really tokenizing and like just it's wrong to talk about racism against Asian Americans as being like your food is laughed at and people like make fun of your language. There's so much more, and like that doesn't even, not to play oppression Olympics, but that doesn't even compare to like people being deported for like stealing food. Right. You know?
Such a good point. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's all we do here is that like the food come up, right? But not like about everything else.
Yeah. I have a good quote by Ruth E. Gilmore.
Come on, give it to us.
She says that racism specifically is the state-sanctioned or extra-legal production and exploitation of group-differentiated vulnerability to premature death. So, like, what I just really want to lean into again is that like racism is institutional. It's institutional violence, it's capitalism, like it's all these different things that are causing us to work against each other and be racist and anti-Black. Yeah. And I think that like for me specifically as an East Asian person, I really try to do work that helps like Black Lives Matter, for example, you know, and it's really important to do work in your daily life that acknowledges the privilege that you have.
Thank you. Those were great last words. Jeff?
Yeah, kind of like hitting on those notes too of just being very grateful for those who have like shared their narratives, like all of you, to like once again like give more power to the various and the multiplicity of narratives that exist within our communities, and just like one kind of beef with the city of West Hollywood. Like, why is Rage the most expensive place to get into? And I think that's why everyone hates it. It's not because the Asians. It's because it's too expensive.
Right.
So let's change that shit up.
I never thought about that.
That's why I can't go to my own communities. I'm not going to pay $20 after no. Goodbye. So you got to fix that West Hollywood.
That's so true.
That's it.
No one else has to pay to hang out with. Okay, whatever. I'm super proud of this episode, and I really wanted to keep going, but we have some pop culture shit to talk about in Minutes of Color. But I really want to say thank you again for coming. I'm sure we're going to do this type of episode again, and I'm going to hope you guys come back. We always do. We want our listeners to find out who you folks are. If you guys are comfortable, where can people find you?
My name is Amanda Lee. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Popcorn Spice.
Yes.
Like the thing that you eat and like a Spice Girl put together.
Exactly how it's spelled? Popcorn Spice?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm just Jeff. I don't really get out my stuff.
Yeah, that's
but I love everybody.
Great. Yeah,
if you see me in real life, but you don't know what I look like, just say hi.
Thank you, Jeff. Jimmy?
Oh, I mean, being an immigrant of color, I prefer to be anonymous.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just go by Jimmy, and I'm here. But thank you for having me on. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. We do a little horn on the way out. Can you guys do that with me? It goes like, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
My wig just fell off. That was so great.
This podcast is executively produced by Aaliyah J. Daniels, LaShawn McGee, Damian Pelliccioni, Christopher Rodriguez, John Kagandahan, Hakeem Cunningham, Baze White, and Renee Hernandez.
Trash.